Time now to break down some of the big stories of the week with the Inside Utah Politics panel. This week we have former Salt Lake City Councilman Charlie Luke and former Speaker of the House Greg Hughes. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Good to be here.
Good to be here.
Let's start off with the legislative session kicking off during the week. Before we get into specific issues, though, I want to talk about what we're seeing play out this year. We saw a hint of it last year as well, but prior to that, I don't really remember a session where we saw this, but it's really getting these big controversial issues off and running from the very beginning. Greg, talk about from a strategy standpoint what we should make of this.
Yeah, I think if you're watching this process-wise, we're seeing something we've not seen before, and that is usually these big bills that attract a lot of attention. Different sides have different opinions. They seem to just percolate during a session, and you see that it kind of build up, and you see the conversations and the emails arrive, and you see that bill maybe midway through the session, and usually towards the end of the session actually pass or fail. We're seeing with the transgender bill from Senator Kennedy, we're seeing with the school choice bill and the salary increase for teachers from Representative Perucci happening in those first few days of this session, which is getting them out early, getting this debate happening right from the beginning. I think it's a smart move. I didn't see it when I was on the clock, and I think that probably some of these big bills, it's good to just hit the ground running.
Charlie, what do you think of that, getting them out of the way quickly in the first part of the session?
As far as political strategy goes, I think it's brilliant. One of the things that has been a problem in the past is all of the oxygen that gets sucked out of the room when you have these big controversial issues. So I think doing what's happening now, where you're discussing them earlier in the session, allows for more of that process. I think it's going to be harder, honestly, on the elected officials because there will be more face time with the public, but that is what's important, especially if there are bills that are as controversial as some of these that are coming up. So process-wise, I think that it is a very, very good practice because it allows for more real public process on those controversial issues, but more importantly, it also allows for time to be spent on the real meat and potatoes of what the legislature does.
All right, Greg, you mentioned those issues that we're going to get into now. Let's start with the transgender youth. There are 3 bills really flying through the legislature in the first week. Is there a need for those?
I think so. You have a unique senator in Senator Kennedy, Mike Kennedy. He's a physician, a family physician. He's a doctor. He's also an attorney and a state senator. And he has crafted a bill, passed out of committee, is moving very quickly. Usually a bill stays on the board for at least 24 hours. I think it's already been debated on the floor in the Senate. It's, again, as you point out, moving fast through that process. But as a physician, but also as a lawmaker, he thinks it's time to either have a moratorium and a pause until we understand more, get more information from our larger hospital networks about if they've done these transgender procedures, what's happening, what those consequences are, and then some of the bans on some of the other practices going on. Again, with the debate, as I've heard it being, these are permanent decisions made for and on behalf of minors. Some would call it as severe as chemical castration, but those decisions, let's see what the data is and what's happening, and let's, at the end of the day, make sure we're protecting kids. I think the bill has been really well structured. It has moratoriums instead of bans, where it's saying we're pausing, and then it does ban some practices. But I think there's been a lot of thought put into this to keep it from a legal challenge, or if they can challenge it, it's not the whole thing. And to give kids a chance, let's see what we've got here. There's a lot of things going on that I don't think we quite understand.
Charlie, the room was full of people in the committee hearing speaking out against this. Your thoughts on the bill?
I think the bill is ridiculous. I don't think that, I think this is a very typical, unfortunately, typical response where you have, Republicans who decide that they want to ban something rather than trying to look at what the overall issue is in the first place. If you don't like the practice of the issues that they're trying to get rid of, then propose something else. Look at, put money into treatment, put money into mental health. The problem with this issue is it is being exploited, and people who really are hurt and are being hurt continue to be hurt. So I think it's time that if Republicans or anybody really wants to get to the bottom of this issue, propose something different. Propose something that can take place in the meantime, rather than just saying, hey, we're going to ban this practice.
Okay, Greg, you also made mention of the voucher and teacher salary bill also flying through in the first week. Talk about what you think of that bill, and really the controversy that is around that is the marriage of both issues, when some people say they should be debated on their own merit.
So they're looking for families and students who may want to pursue different ways of delivering education or being educated with our teachers' salaries and increasing them at the same time. If we've learned anything from those pandemic years, it is that we had to change very quickly and without notice how we were delivering education to children, with success and with failure. But what I think parents and probably families figured out is that some children respond very well to maybe online education, maybe homeschooling, or different ways a child can learn. And giving those children and those families an opportunity to pursue those different avenues of education, it should be intuitive at this point, especially when we've been through the process that we've been through, where our education delivery changed so quickly. The reason it's tethered with the salary increase for teachers is that last year this bill had a critical narrative to it that, hey, you're giving up on our public schools. You're saying that the public schools aren't good enough, and so you're trying to send kids elsewhere. The salary increase says, hey, we believe and we're invested in our public schools. We're invested in these educators. We know that they could use this salary increase. We're not giving up on our public schools. We also, at the same time, want to have avenues for parents, families, children, students to pursue that they wouldn't have otherwise. So I think it's a very good combination of these two issues put together as a package.
Charlie, do you see it that way?
No, I think it's a way of ensuring that the bill passes by tying it to teachers' salaries, because you have an issue that is really important, which is teachers' salaries, and you have an issue that is not publicly popular, which is charter schools. If charter schools were publicly popular, this would have been passed a long time ago. It is not. You continue to see this issue brought up. It has nothing to do with education. It is a pro-charter school bill, and by tying by tying it to public teacher salaries, they're cynically hoping that this is the time that it'll pass.
I didn't want to interrupt Charlie, but charter schools are public schools. We're talking the private schools, homeschool paths.
Right, you could use it for either of those options.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get into another big issue we're seeing on the national level. We now have major investigations going into former President Trump and now current President Biden involving classified documents. What should we make of this? Greg, let's start with you.
You're watching, this is political theater at its best. You're seeing, I think the fix is in, folks. I'm going to tell you, the people that are narking out this president and all of a sudden finding all these classified documents that were never supposed to be in his possession, I think this is a way to make him unelectable, make him so that he can't run again, and then legitimize going after President Trump for the documents that he has. It's a twofer for these Democrats. They have an unelectable president that they don't want to run again, and they want to continue to go after President Trump. Just show all these documents that are sitting in his garage, totally unprotected. It looks like you're storing Halloween decorations in some garage. He's got all these classified documents. He was vice president.
So to be clear,
have them. They're going to try and use both examples to get rid of both of them.
So to be clear, you're saying when it comes to President Biden, this is an inside job.
Yeah, who else would tell him? Who has access to that man inside his garage to tell this but his own people?
Do you know what it is?
It's pathetic. I mean, it's so if you think this man is the only one that took something out of that White House or vice presidential office at the end of their term ever, it's not the case. But if you want to go after Trump and you don't like Biden, show it's happened to two of them, and you can get them both out.
There is a process in place when classified documents are discovered. The Biden team has done what that protocol is. What they did not do, and where this is different, is when Trump was notified that about he doubled down and lied that he didn't have it and made all these different things, had his attorneys lie. That is the difference. Now, when if as a political consultant, I would advise anybody to avoid focusing on issues like this if you want to take down your opponent, because they are so complex that it sounds like, oh, classified documents, I guess Biden's done the same thing Trump has. That's not the case. But when you focus everything on these these difficult issues, that's what's going to happen.
Okay,
So this isn't going to go well for the Democrats. But you know, was it an inside job to keep him off the ballot? No.
Okay, 20 seconds.
No, they were following the process that has been established that Trump blatantly lied about and ignored.
They have now on the third property of President Biden that they are finding classified documents. Third property. This isn't just some aha moment.
The third property that his own team is looking at. Trump won't even look at his own
as much as I wish,
that is totally different.
As much as I wish this could go on, we have unfortunately run out of time. It goes like that.
Participate in the search
because
of the Biden
because
stuff.
it's not relevant.
Yeah, it has to do with China and Ukraine.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Inside Utah Politics right after the break.